Welcome to this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Go. Irene Liao is a senior executive that's worn many hats, first within the consumer luxury goods industry and then in the mass market snack food industry. In this week's edition of Taiwan Talk, Liao talks to us about what it took to make a career jump from luxury to mass market within a company once dominated by men, before taking on the challenge of establishing a nutritious food startup named Vegan Joy.
The reason I joined the luxury industry, it wasn't for all the fancy things, all the glamorous things that people see, because I had a genuine interest in French they would call it savoir-faire. So it's kind of like the craftsmanship, the history, the heritage. And during my time in the luxury industry, one thing I learned is that, not only that you have the respect and also putting the effort to maintain what's being passed down by generations, that at the same time, like the history, the people behind the brand, the products, I think those are the essence of what's important. And so I think the one thing I learned is branding, storytelling are vital in being able to establish that kind of connection with your consumer.
And then you came back to Taiwan and then you did snack food.
It was a lot of work. It was the toughest job I've ever had. But I think it's just because it's a family business and I'm the third generation and we have about 400 employees. So bearing that responsibility for that many people and then, having to make sure that, I don't make any reform per se or any decision that will kind of backfire instead of moving forward but going in the wrong direction. So I think mentally and physically were both quite challenging. But I'm very fortunate that, even though we have most of our employees have been with the company for like a long, long time, and a lot of them have been with the company since college and, been with us for more than 25, 30 years. They were more than happy and willing to learn and make adaptations to how we can become a more efficient and modern company.
How much of an issue, if it was an issue, was gender?
I think gender might be part of an issue because before it was my grandfather, my father, my uncle was all like male. And I think for me, it was a combination of gender and also a lot of them watched me grow up. And also that, I was in the luxury industry, had nothing to do with the food manufacturing. So most of them, they just kind of assume, I think rightly so, that I don't know the business. And so for me, I spent a lot of time with different departments, different people, even in the factory and all that, trying to managing and also learning at the same time. But I think when you manage a company, doesn't matter which industry, there are certain fundamental principles. It applies all the same. So in a way, I had to run the business, manage the company, but also at the same time earned employees' trust and respect. I remember the first week in office, I dressed the way I used to when I was in the luxury business, in high heels and, nice fancy clothes. And I think it was like after a week, I was like, oh no, this is not, I don't think they care, how well I look. And so, after that, it's like flats, and just the practical clothing. So I can, actually walk through the plants, the factories and all that.
Without breaking anything.
Or having to worry about, I might slip or anything like that because in heels. So yes, I think it was a very interesting relationship in the beginning between me and our team members. We're both evaluating each other. And I think at the end of the day, once they see that even though I am a woman and significantly younger, I think once they know that I'm all in and that I do anything that's only for the good of the company, then, once you have their trust, it was no longer an issue. And I think for women management, one thing that we bring to the table is the balance, because a lot of time we have that luxury of doesn't have to be all very stern all the time. And we can find that balance here and there to see how we would do best to mediate or even be assertive when we have to.
What was the difference between taking on a legacy company and starting something different?
I think starting something brand new and that has like nothing to do with the family business. For me, I think the biggest incentive is that it's mine. It's a white sheet of paper. I don't bear any glory or burden from the family business. It's 100% my own in the way that, I'm responsible for it and I can create and do it however I want it. And also I'm 100% responsible for it. Yeah.
So how does that feel?
It's nerve-wracking. I think, honestly, if I was a few years younger or even older, I probably wouldn't have the nerve to do it. I probably wouldn't have the nerve to become an entrepreneur. But I think now at 46 going on 47, with the experience that I've gained, I think it's the right time to just dive in and start my own business.
If you could pick one incident with your new company that you might have bumped into with your old company, tell me how differently you handled the same incident across two different circumstances.
One thing was really interesting that I had to learn the hard way is that because when you represent a really well-known business or brand, when you talk to people, when you approach people about like collaborations or like all that, you get their full attention and you're always being put like to priority, and most of the time you're in the position of calling the shots. But starting your own brand new business as a small company, yeah, you don't get that kind of treatment. And it's like, no, this is the idea is good. What we want to do is good, and even with the standard of the big company. But yeah, but a lot of time you're just kind of being put on the back burner, and I think that's something that I had to really adjust my own pride in a way. Like if you have to beg literally in order to get things done, then you have to do what you have to do to get the job done.
What's the first thing you're going to do after you launch your product?
Honestly, I think I'll be just monitoring like the sales record probably on every 3 hours or something like that. It's just because it's taken us a year since, registering the company to develop the products and everything, and also the branding, everything. You're burning money every day. But at the same time, because we're in the food business, so for me, there's been a few times where I actually decided to delay the launching date because I wasn't satisfied with the product, whether it's the taste or the texture or even the packaging design, so on and so forth. And, my finance person, she's like, yeah, you need to are you sure you want to delay again? Mm-hmm. But going back to the basic, going back to the root, why I decided to start my own business and in the food-related sector is that because I genuinely believe that food products are so important in our daily lives. And if I want to do anything, I want to do something that's genuinely good. And so obviously, if you want to do something good, a lot of times you cannot compromise on anything. And I think also it's my own thing. I'm 100% responsible for it. So I definitely want to present my own brand and product in the best condition that I know it is in. That's something that myself, the shareholders, and also my team members that we are proud of.
You were listening to Irene Liao, co-founder and general manager of Vegan Joy. And that does it for this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. Thank you for tuning in.